everyone, Lisa here on the Crafty Meraki YouTube channel today. For today's card I'm going to be using one of the new stencils from the latest stencil release. This is the Woven Wonder stencil, and on the back of my packaging here I have the Mosaic Maze. These are 2 out of 6 stencils that have just been released. I'm going to show the other 4 in a moment to you. I'm also going to use the Imperial Garden stamp set on my card today, and I'm going to be using a sentiment from another set which is called All My Love. So I'm going to start off first by just going through the other 4 stencils in the release. This first stencil here is called Green Garland. Absolutely beautiful stencil. I just love the design of this and I cannot wait to ink this up. The second new one is the Foliage Frenzy stencil, another one with a different leaf pattern, also really pretty. And the third one is also a leaf pattern. This is called Tropical Finesse. Really gorgeous. It reminds me a lot of the Fern Leaf Paradise, which I really like using. So looking forward to using this one in the future. And the final one that I've got to show you is this one here called Shapeshifters, which is another really interesting design. And I'm going to have all the new stencils linked in the description bar below. But for now, we're going to get on with making the card. So I'm going to start off by just cutting a circle mask. I'm going to be placing this on my panel before I do the inking, so just using some masking magic and a circle die from my stash, and I'm just going to run that through my die cutting machine, remove the backing paper and then place that down sort of towards the bottom right of my panel. And then I'm going to take the Woven Wonder stencil, just line that up, and then I'm going to tape it down with some low tack tape from behind. And just to hold my stencil and paper in place, I'm going to place that down onto a misty sticky mat. And now we're going to start with the blending. So I've got 3 aqua colours here. These are Altenew inks, and the first one is called Dewdrops. This is the lightest of the 3, and I'm just going to apply that around the outer edge of that circle mask. What I'm aiming for with the blending is to get a kind of ombre blend with the darkest colour at the outside fading towards that lightest colour around the circle. So I'm now going in with my second shade, and this is called Aqualicious, and I'm applying that to the rest of my panel, so leaving that area around the circle as light as possible. I'm just adding that second colour to darken up the edges around that. And I'm going to finish with the darkest shade. So this is the third ink I'm using, and this is called Teal Cave, and I'm just going to add that all around the edge of the panel, and I just keep blending out until I'm happy with the saturation. And now it's time to remove that mask and also to remove that circle mask as well. So really happy with how that's turned out. We're going to move on to the stamping now. So I've got a panel of £80 cardstock here, and I've taken the flower and leaf image from Imperial Garden. I'm going to stamp those down with some Memento Tuxedo black ink. Imperial Garden is a stamp layering set, so I'm going to start off by taking the first layer of both the flower and the leaves. So this is going to give me my first layer of solid colour, and I'm going to use some Pink Fresh Studio inks for this part of the card. So I'm starting off by inking the stamp with Pink Fresh Studio Sparkling Rose and also Grassy Knoll for those leaves, and I'm just going to press that down. And I do go ahead and double stamp this, as my first stamping didn't really cover all of the areas, so I just went in and added another layer. And I'm now going in and I'm going to add the second layer for the flower, just making sure I've got that lined up properly, and the second layer on the leaves. And for these I'm going to be using bubble gum for the flower and olive for the leaf. And again, I do go ahead and double stamp these just to make sure that I'm happy with the coverage. And I am stamping another of the leaves off camera as well, because I'll need 2 for my final design. So going in now with a third layer on the flower, and for that I'm going to be using Raspberry Bliss, and again I do double stamp that as well. So now that the stamping's finished, I'm just going to take the coordinating dies and run those through my Gemini Junior. We're going to go ahead and assemble the card now. So I've got some thin foam tape which I'm just removing from the back of the flower, and I've just positioned my sentiments down there on my panel so I can see exactly where I want to press that down. I'm adding some adhesive onto the back of my leaves, and when I go to tuck it under, I realised I hadn't left myself enough room, so I just cut off a tiny section of that leaf set in order for me to slot it under that flower on the bottom right. And I do the same thing with the other set of leaves as well. I'm just going to take out some of that bottom edge, and that's going to allow me to just slip that under the flower on the top left. And no one will ever know unless of course they watch this video. It's time to add the sentiments now, and these I have white heat embossed onto black cardstock off camera. I did put some foam tape onto the back, so just removing the backing from those so I can adhere those down. And last but not least, I'm going to add some Fairy Garden Meraki Sparkle gems. So I've got a selection of different size gems, and I've just got those positioned around the flower and the leaves. And that brings us to the end of today's card. So that is the Woven Wonder stencil, inked up and made into a card, but I hope you've enjoyed seeing a quick run through of the other stencils as well. I will be back with another card for you next week. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful day.